Yeah, it's fine. Hello, and wouldn't you know it, hello, my wonderful friends, and welcome to another episode of Arlocast. We got past the first one without quitting or getting distracted or bored or whatever. We're on number 2, so this is now officially a thing. Feedback so far has been absolutely wonderful. My producer Chris and I are genuinely so amazingly happy about the response thus far. We're having a ton of fun with this, and we hope this is something we can do for a good long time. I mean, as long as people are enjoying it, right? Well, if any episode of Arlocast will ever be enjoyable, it's this one, my friends, because not only is there a boatload of exciting stuff to talk about, this being the first episode after a very eventful E3, but here I have 2 terrific guests to talk about it all with. The first comes from a long line of horse and cart drivers. Back when many in that trade struggled and frequently carted incorrectly, his family developed a method for doing it just right. And the rest was history. Please welcome Jon Cartwright.
Hi, that's my backstory, Arlo. Thank you for nailing that.
I looked it up. on the wiki. Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Exactly. Briefly, tell us what you do for anyone who does not know.
So I talk about Nintendo games on the internet, which is a very unique thing to do. And I'm on the YouTube channel Nintendo Life, where I do that every single day.
And you do it very, very well, I must say. Our second guest famously struggled with what name to use for his YouTube persona. He had the first part down, but he couldn't decide between the knee and the yak, and eventually scrapped both and settled for the name we all know and love today. Please welcome Scott the Woz.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very happy that somebody finally got my backstory right.
I do my research. I make sure I do my research.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've never stated that other one anywhere else. You really dive deep into it all.
I interviewed his family. I do my research now. And tell us what you do for the one guy who doesn't know.
Well, I talk about Nintendo games on the internet, and that's...
There you go.
Yeah. There was not enough people, really, so I just thought, you know what, this is a market that really needs to be, you know, just there needs to be more people in it.
We need more weird guys who talk about Nintendo on the internet. And you know, Scott, before we really begin, there's one story whenever I want to impress people and like name drop a whole bunch. There's always one story I go to about an experience that we shared getting sandwiches. Do you recall this story?
Yes.
And I always you gotta build it up and just be like, well, we were all gonna get sandwiches, so what was it? It was like me and Chugga Conroy in the back seat, and Mike Pixley from Bonsai Pop was driving the car, and Scott the Woz was in the trunk, if you believe it.
Yeah.
And then I laugh, and everyone laughs,
and
they clink their wine glasses.
They were good sandwiches. Yes, no. So it was all worth it in the end.
And there were a couple other YouTubers in there. I can't remember who, but the whole car was packed and there wasn't enough room. And so Scott was it was a hatchback. It wasn't like a sedan.
It was close enough to a trunk.
He was in the trunk though.
I'm always, if there's ever a reason for me to get into a trunk of a car, I usually take it. It just makes for a better story.
He was eager. He just jumped right in. He was just like, the car wasn't even full yet. He just wanted to take the trunk.
To be fair, when you bring up, hey, I want to make this a story, as in like, hey, I want to tell people later down the line, hey, I want to go get sandwiches. Well, somebody needs to get into the trunk to just make it a more interesting tale. Now, which sandwich?
Exactly. I needed my name drop story.
Yeah, which sandwich did you get? Because I forget.
You know, what's funny is it was probably my usual, but I don't want to talk about that because that question will actually come up later. I have a lot of very important notes here.
I understand.
We'll talk about sandwiches in good time.
I know you're not a fan of spoilers, so I won't.
That's true.
I won't press.
No. Yeah, no sandwich spoilers. All right, well, that is it for introductions. Normally, this is where I would introduce the news segment, but let's face it, today is all about E3. We just had an E3, and it was cool. So instead, let's dive right into a little segment I like to call, Let's Talk About E3, because, oh my gosh. So should we start with, I mean, it's the main Nintendo thing. It's the Zelda. Should we start with the Breath of the Wild 2?
I thought Cruise and Blast was the big thing.
Cruise and Blast? Was that even in the Nintendo thing? I've seen you talking about it.
Yes,
It was there for a few seconds during a reel. They showed off a few third-party things, and Cruise and Blast was in there for maybe, 10 seconds?
Is that a new game, or is that like...
So Cruise and Blast, Arlo, Cruisin's a long-running arcade game which Nintendo publishes.
Yeah.
And yeah, Cruisin' USA was a big one. And Cruise and Blast has been in arcades for, I want to say, 5 years?
Oh, wow.
I think 2017.
Yeah, so
it came out.
around 4 years then. So them porting it to Switch, it's not a huge deal, but it's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's fun.
It is a huge deal. Don't undersell it. It's a huge deal.
I played Cruisin' USA a whole bunch.
Mm-hmm. I like the arcadey racing games, and we need more of them. Even though I think the Switch has a decent amount of them. They have Need for Speed and Burnout, and not Excite Truck or Excitebots yet. So it's not worth anything. But yeah,
Where's Excite Planes?
I'd love that.
I had the idea for Excite Mechs.
Oh man,
yeah.
It would be like Mech Assault from the Xbox, but instead it's a racing game. No, that was good. I was gonna say the main event was the Gearbox showcase and the Verizon showcase.
Yeah, the Verizon. I know. I didn't stream my reaction. I went nuts.
I know. The Intellivision showcase, the Bandai Namco Presents whatever they did showcase. What's on the schedule?
It was an interesting E3.
They did something.
Well, let's hold off on the non-Nintendo stuff until after. Let's hit the big stuff first. Any major... That's the funny thing about the Zelda thing, is it's like, it revealed so much and yet so little. It was so small, but it was still so much more than we had before. Now we got all the theories and stuff. Any major takeaways you would like to talk about there? John, let's start with you.
Sure. So the weird thing is I'm a huge Breath of the Wild fan. One of my favorite games of all time. But after this presentation, Breath of the Wild 2 wasn't lingering in my mind. And I want it to be, but I feel like this game is just quite early. They weren't showing that much. When you take apart the gameplay of the trailer, there's maybe 40 seconds of it. And there's plenty to latch onto, but it was Metroid capturing my attention. But yeah, to focus on Zelda, though, it was... there's lots to latch onto. It looks like the sky's going to play a really big part of that game, and it's definitely called back to Skyward Sword in there, too. But yeah, I wasn't really feeling a huge amount of excitement for this.
Yeah, I think it's like, it could just be that we've waited so long that just amount was not going to be that satisfying. I even said as much in my own stuff, how it's like, I really enjoyed it and it was really exciting, but it is true that it just needed a little bit more to just really to really land really hard and make me super excited. It was really great and I was excited, but yeah, it was missing something. And it could just be, it's been 2 years. It's been 2 years. So it was hard to get super duper excited about anything other than a full reveal. And what about you, Scott? Any thoughts on Breath of the Wild?
Well, I think the amount of Skyward Sword kind of references was interesting, and it kind of does remind me of how Twilight Princess HD kind of interplayed with Breath of the Wild, just because there wasn't really a ton of Twilight Princess references outside of Wolf-Link, the amiibo, being compatible, but still, we're kind of in a similar just situation with that, where we have a remake this year or a remaster, and then next year we have Breath of the Wild 2, and there was at least 2 Skyward Sword references I really saw, just Link falling down, and then the shot of Zelda falling was it felt like a big callback to the opening of Skyward Sword, where Zelda was falling, and that's where Zelda gets lost pretty much, Zelda is taken. Yeah, it's not a direct thing, but it was also okay, well, she's falling there, and then the next shot is Link falling like he does in Skyward Sword. Yeah, I think when I saw the trailer, I was very much that's a great idea, kind of expanding it via this idea that I saw the Link kind of like going through, like turning into liquid and going through like platforms. That's almost an evolution of how climbing was, where it's just like, oh, well now, you can just climb over things. Now you can just go right through them or something, potentially. I don't know. But I think like John said, it hasn't super lingered in my mind, but I'm still excited, and I still think it's going to be a great, it's obviously going to be a fantastic game. And I think it definitely quelled a lot of my worries of it being like, oh, it's the same map. Well, now, like large platforms are being ripped up into the air, and I think that's going to be enough to make it so then, like, okay, you have platforms in the air, and there's probably going to be craters in the ground or something from where those platforms used to be. And I don't think we've seen this game's main gimmick yet, or this game's main pull yet, because they specifically said we don't want to reveal the title because that shows, like, that reveals too much about the game. And the way Enuma talked about it, he said, like, hey, now the game involves the sky. And the way he said it may kind of implied, like, that's our new thing now. But I think there's still something missing, almost like the capture mechanic in Mario Odyssey.
Yes.
Like, it almost feels like there's this one big thing that's missing that they're going to reveal later down the line. Because right now, it feels like a cool upgrade to Breath of the Wild in terms of scope and what they're doing with the design. But I feel like it's missing that one thing, and the fact that they haven't revealed the title yet shows that that title is probably going to say something about this game's main thing. And I also think holiday 2022, I kind of thought before they said 2022 it was going to be spring, but just the fact they're not showing the title yet, I'm just like, I feel like this is holiday.
Yeah, they keep saying, like, at the start of the year in the first Direct, they said that they're not ready to show Zelda yet. And like 4 months later, and they are. And even before that, they were saying, like, this is just a glimpse of the game. To me, it feels like this game is probably pretty far away still, and like Scott said, probably the end of 2022. Also, though, I don't want to be too deflating here, Arlo, but also, like, like, it reminds me a bit of Gravity Rush 2 in a sense as well. Like, the world of the first game's on the bottom, and then you got the sky, which is the new world. Yeah. And I like that they're doing that. That's pretty cool. But I just want to see what more it can do, because it's giving us a tease and possibilities. We can speculate for hours and hours and hours, but in terms of what they've shown, there's just a lot of gaps which they haven't quite explained yet.
It just felt, it reminded me a lot of Immortals, Phoenix Rising, with just Link wearing kind of like that toga, or the playable character, because we never see that character's face. I'm 95% sure it's Link, but, just with, like, without the ponytail.
Yeah. I think when he backflips, you see his face for like a second. So that might be like a little glimpse.
He's probably just got something weird with his face. But it could be,
like, in some shots. Yeah. And also, like, Link has that kind of, like, thing that, that malice or whatever going up his arm. And pretty much, like, that opening shot of that character falling down, there's malice, like, like, pretty much, like, there's a design on that character's arm. So
yeah.
I don't think Zelda's, at least that's not Zelda, but the hair was long enough where it kind of matched, like, Zelda's new haircut. So I don't know. But Arlo,
yes, it's really funny that you mentioned Super Mario Odyssey, because that's exactly what I was going to say. Is it felt like the first reveal to get everyone like, oh wow, this is like kind of generally the, because it's hard for me to believe that the floating islands is like it. That's like the big new thing, and then like a couple new little abilities here and there. Yeah, it's like they do the first one to give us just a taste of it, to get us already really excited. And then the full reveal trailer is like, oh, but also there's this big thing. It feels like they're doing that again. I hope so, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be. Why else would it take so long to make a sequel using the same world and a bunch of the same assets, the kind of thing that you'd think would just take a couple years? It seems like they're really... I mean, obviously, there's like the pandemic and all that stuff, too, but it feels like they're just really taking their time to make sure it's super awesome. There's got to be something really big that no one has even considered yet.
Absolutely. And Breath of the Wild was a game about redefining the Zelda franchise and changing tropes that they've had for years and years and years. And when you follow that up, you can't just iterate. They have to redefine it some way. And we're not seeing that yet. Like, the sky isn't it. They've done the sky before. So what is the twist?
Yeah, exactly. The thing that makes us just be like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? It changes everything, and it's super awesome.
There's like some time alteration mechanic that seems to be at play there, and then Link turns into goo or something. I don't know. There's a couple of things, but we don't really see that being played out in like, oh my god, this is crazy kind of like this is a crazy way to do this. But did anybody else think like at the very end of that trailer, like it felt very similar to the E3 2016 trailer for Breath of the Wild, where they pause.
They also did this in the prior trailer where you're on the plateau and you're watching Hyrule Castle go to the sky. Like, it's a really similar.
Yeah, it ends on the same
scene.
note.
Yeah. But they kind of pause on that landscape, and it's paused for so long that I'm like, they're gonna show the logo, they're gonna show the title,
really
and
did pause a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe they forgot just to put the PNG in.
Yeah.
The guy didn't fade it in all the way. It was still on a different layer. And they're like, we didn't want to tell you the title because it would be spoilers.
Yeah.
This is
I'm
dumb.
like, it's just like, you're gonna be spoiled. You're gonna be spoiled regardless. Like, it's just like, why does it matter if we know the title right now? We're gonna be spoiled regardless. Yeah. Like,
this is really dumb. But did you guys notice that Link was holding the torch this time? So in the original trailer back in 2019, I think Zelda was holding the torch, but in this one, Link is in the dungeons. Do they just change who's holding it, or do you get to decide maybe?
Oh, that's some
and
deep
maybe that
choices.
decides who you control.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, because with the open world design, it would almost feel a little weird to be like, you know, if there's story beats where it's like, oh, you're playing as Link now, and then it switches over to Zelda for like another story chunk or something like that. I was thinking maybe it could be like Grand Theft Auto 5, where it's just like whatever, like you have the one character and then you can swap to another character on the other side of the map or something like that. But I think maybe, you know, potentially it could be cool if you can pick who you play as, and that would at least explain if you're playing as Zelda, if you decide on Zelda, that would make a lot of sense as to why you're you start over, like in terms of your hearts are down to 3 again, and you don't have your abilities. And then with Link, they may be able to explain it with like, his arm gets messed up somehow, so that could just like, like I could see it already, like when his arm gets messed up, the hearts go down to 3 or something. But I don't know, maybe whoever you pick, you get different abilities, where Link has that time manipulation mechanic, but Zelda, since she is so interested in technology with this era of Zelda, maybe she utilizes the Sheikah Slate for abilities similar to that. Maybe Link's moveset is much different from Breath of the Wild Link, in Breath of the Wild 2, and he can do all these new things with time manipulation and all that, and it's with his hand. And then maybe Zelda is more like traditional Breath of the Wild Link. I don't know, I'm just rambling at this point, though.
There's so many possibilities. I feel like, I think the general consensus is kind of like, based on this trailer, we probably know we're not going to get playable Zelda, just because it's like, okay, bye-bye, go down the hole. Link's going to go have an adventure now. I'm still holding out hope that she does have a big part in the story and is maybe playable in some way, but I can't reveal my thoughts because I'm actually writing a video, hopefully that will go out sometime after this goes live, so I can't spoil it. But I think there's still at least a little bit of hope. I don't think a full playable Zelda, though. I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately.
Maybe it could be like Ashley in Resident Evil 4, where you play as her like during like really weird, like just one segment in the game or something like that.
Yeah, I'd go for that. Absolutely. Well, we could probably talk about Breath of the Wild 2 all day, but let's give Metroid some love. Because, oh my gosh, did you see what they did? I know you might have missed it, but did you see what they did with the Metroid in the Nintendo Direct? Did you notice?
Oh man, I can't stop thinking about it.
No, I can't either.
My mind has not stopped thinking about Metroid since this happened.
No, me neither. I'm complete. Like, oh, no. Me too. Yeah, like Breath of the Wild. Maybe if this Metroid thing wasn't there, I would be thinking about Breath of the Wild more. But no, my mind is completely just consumed by Metroid right now. Every time I see the words, like on Nintendo's Twitter, or like I go in the eShop and the game is there and it just says Metroid Dread, I can't. Every single individual time I have this little moment of like, whoa, wait, really? Like, just the reality of seeing it in front of me is like hard to grasp.
In 2005, when rumors first started, I was 10 years old, and I remember being on Game FAQs and just talking about Metroid Dread forever. It was a huge deal back then. It was meant to be like the end of the Metroid saga, and we kept seeing these ramblings about it and listings. I think it was Game Informer that first started it. And I think in 2006, like Nintendo Official Magazine had a listing for it, and it said it was releasing in 2006, but then that didn't happen. And then 2007 came along, and Prime 3 had that teaser that you scan in that says Metroid Project Dread is nearing the end of development. And then just nothing happened. Like, over the years, Sakamoto would sometimes talk about Dread and say that he wants to still do his vision and maybe start over from scratch. So there was always hope, but it just didn't happen. And even in Samus Returns in 2017, there was the Chozo Memories, which pretty much tease another 2D Metroid, so I thought it was happening. But even with the expectations in check, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for Metroid Dread to show up.
No, I'm so glad, because I've seen a lot of other people's reactions, and I think a lot of people were like, oh, I hope it's Dread. I had written it off entirely. I just thought it wasn't a thing anymore. And it makes sense in retrospect, because it's like, that's the next 2D game he wanted to make, and if he gets to make one, he's probably going to want to make that. But I'm so glad too. It wasn't even when they said, here it is, they're showing it to me, a new Metroid. Not even in a million years did I think it was actually going to be Dread. So when that logo hit, I just want to cry. It was just so wonderful. Oh, that was the whammy.
It's one of the most important Nintendo things in a long time. I feel like, legitimately, this game feels like one of the biggest things they could have done.
Yeah, I mean, Metroid itself isn't that big, but we all know that it has a lot of potential, and most of its titles have not done well for stupid reasons that are not related to the quality of the games at all. It's just super unlucky, and so yeah, I mean, even if the audience isn't that big right now, just as a Nintendo thing, it's one of their main, super notable, well-known franchises getting a really big shot for the first time in a long time. No, it's very big. It's very important.
Yeah. I think the excitement is palpable too. People seem excited for Metroid, even if they're strangers to the franchise. I've seen people booting up their Wii U's to download Zero Mission and Fusion.
Yes, I heard that the sales charts are like everybody is seeing that the Wii U is the best place to play them. So if you go on Wii U now, I mean it's probably not saying too much, but they're at the top of the sales charts on the Wii U eShop now because everyone wants to go play them. No, I'm seeing so many people. Oh, it warms my heart. So many people saying, I've never played a Metroid, but it looks so cool that I want to play, because that is exactly what we need. That's what any new Metroid needs. Is it just because the hardcore fan base, people don't like to admit this for anything. The hardcore fan base is not the ones adding to the sales numbers. It's the general masses. You with anything, with any media, almost anything, it's not the people who are online talking about it that are making it a success. It's just people. And so that's what it needs, is just any old person to be at the store or whatever and just be like, hey, that looks cool, and buy it because it looks cool, because that's what's really going to make it a success. And we're seeing that. We're seeing people who are just like, I don't know, I've never played one, but this is great.
Do you remember when I said before we started that I recorded gameplay for 2 hours and then it crashed?
Oh,
that was that's Metroid Zero Mission on Wii U, and it was 2 days ago. Yeah. No, this is the most I played a Metroid game. I was just I've wanted to play Zero Mission all year, well, pretty much for the past couple of years, and I just thought, all right, boom, I'm in the mood now, let's do this. And I couldn't put it down. It's such a good game. It is so amazing. Yeah. It's so quick. It's only 4 hours long or something, and I'm very close to the end, but it is so good, and it is completely I've dabbled in every Metroid game, but this is one that I'm fully seeing to the end, because I refuse to play the entirety of Metroid 1 on NES.
That's not worth it.
But it's yeah. They do crazy things with Zero Mission. It's Kraid is literally the size of the entire screen, and then in the NES one, he's literally just this tiny little garbage man
so
sprite.
Good. Zero Mission's my favorite too, and I urge everyone to play it because it feels great. Yeah. Super Metroid is a brilliant game. But once you've played Zero Mission, the controls just feel perfect, and going back is a bit tough.
Yeah, and I've played about
I have been putting it off. I have not.
Oh, you have
I've
to.
not played it yet.
It's
I know.
really good.
And I'm all talking. I know. It's because like I didn't get into Metroid that long ago. I think like Metroid Prime, I really enjoyed when it came out. You know, I was a teenager. And then, but like, I didn't play a 2D Metroid until Super when they made it 30 cents on the Wii U. So that was like, I don't know, 7 years ago or something. So like, since then, I'm like really slow. Like I did maybe a few years after that, I did Fusion. And then like, I've just been savoring it. I don't want to play it because then I've played all the Metroids. But now that Dread's coming out, I'm definitely going to play it.
Yeah, I hope,
there's no downtime. It's like 4 hours long, but every moment counts. There's not a single bit of clutter in there.
How different, 100% different is like the map from Metroid 1, because I've never really looked into it that much, because like there's so many things in this game where I'm like, this was not in Metroid 1. It couldn't have been. Like there's no way this was. Like how different would you say it is to Metroid 1?
So I've never fully compared them, but there's definitely a lot of really similar areas, and I think some of them are even one-to-one. But in Metroid 1, there'll be some locations which are literally the exact same as others, and the color scheme is like it's barely changed. So it's so easy to get lost. But they've added a lot more visual flair to Zero Mission. So I think it might be pretty close, but they definitely expand upon it a lot.
Yeah, it was always like
It's probably the same as what they did with Samus Returns.
Samus Returns. Yeah, that's what I thought. Where it's like
kind of a reimagine, because the old one is it's just so archaic. You can't really do like a full remake. You got to kind of reimagine it.
No, I was in the same boat as you, Arlo, where like I kind of wrote off Metroid Dread for years. Like when there were rumors of a new 2D Metroid, I didn't even think it was like, oh, this is gonna be Metroid Dread. Like even if it remained like the same idea as Metroid Dread, like I was like, oh, they'll probably like rename it or something, and then they'll say like it would be like how they incorporated Star Fox 2 elements into Star Fox Zero or whatever, you know, like it's just like, oh, let's take that and put it in here. But no, I let out a very hearty what when it was when the subtitle kind of came in there. And Mercury Steam is so talented, like with just like how far they've grown from, like they made that just not great Castlevania game on Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate. I played that recently and I was just like, oh my god, why? It's surprising to me that Nintendo even decided to work with them after that, but they've proven themselves, and it shows like when, you know, there's good direction with the game that they can. They are very. I'm very happy to see them do take on 2D Metroid, basically be the 2D Metroid developers from here on out. Because from what I played of Samus Returns, it was just super good, and this looks like it's just as good, if not better. So
yeah, I think with them, I played the demo of that 3DS one, and I've never played another Castlevania game or anything. But just like from what I got from it, the production value so high and the graphics were so good. I wouldn't be surprised if that game was a thing where like they were doing their absolute best, but whoever was in charge of that project just made it so it had to be like, you know, some decisions or strip back, whatever. Or it's just that they're really good at like the raw compiling of a game and the cinematics and everything. But now we have Yoshio Sakamoto working on it. It could be like we have, you know, Metroid people installed from Nintendo to help them with the actual, like the level design and the mechanics and stuff. Or I don't really know.
I'm interested to see how much of this resembles Metroid Dread from, you know, 16 years back or so, just to see like, you know, like how, you know, like just if anything ever leaks of like, you know, or early builds of Metroid Dread from the DS days, just seeing like comparing like level designs and seeing like, you know, how did like the robot Emmy look in like, you know, like the DS iteration or whatever. Like I think. And I think they canceled it because of hardware limitations.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Or like it just wasn't working out. Yeah. So I'm just really interested to see like how much of this game resembles the previous incarnations of it.
They need to do like an art book or something.
Yeah, because it's like there's got to be like mechanics. I mean, even one mechanic is going to change how the entire map is just made. And it sounded like by what he was saying, he's like, oh, and we also added in like these new things. So I have to imagine it was just kind of like a general idea, or like, I don't know, maybe it did have mechanics, but they changed. It just seems like there's got to be a good amount of new stuff, but I don't know, wouldn't be surprised if at least like the bones, you know, like the kind of skeleton was the same.
Yeah, they've wanted to do this for a while, and I'm not sure if you guys remember, but back in like 2014, some Metroid concept art leaked from Next Level Games, and it showed this really angular Samus and a bunch of monsters.
Oh yeah,
and that comes in very closely with a Luigi's Mansion 2 Iwata Asks, where they said to get the project for Luigi's Mansion 2, they're actually pitching for another project at the time. And we assume, because of the time gap, that must have been Metroid because of the concept art. But after that presentation, they had a prototype ready, and it seems like Nintendo saw the Metroid prototype and went, okay, here's Luigi's Mansion 2. So that's how that went for them.
I think
Sakamoto's wanted a Metroid team for a long time, and finding Mercury Steam was just perfect. Like, they get Samus. Have you guys seen the Treehouse footage where Samus is just defeating this big monster, and she doesn't even look at it. She just charges her beam, like raises her arm, shoots it right in the face, and just jumps through its tail. Like, it's effortless. I love how they're portraying Samus.
No, I've not watched. I can't watch any of the Treehouse footage, especially if it's going to be one of those like kind of short but like really good condensed experiences. I can't look at any more footage. Like, I saw the trailer, I can't.
No, well, I'm happy. I'm happy that Next Level is such a talented studio, but I think Mercury Steam is the better choice for Metroid. I feel like Next Level just works a little better with kind of like the cartoony, kind of fun, zany stuff with like Punch Out, Luigi's Mansion, Mario Strikers, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Federation Force isn't that bad. It's a fine game. Yeah, it's a fine game. It came out at a bad time. Yeah. It came out at a bad time. But even then, the designs just, I don't really think the designs fit Metroid or what they were trying to do with that. Overall, it's a fine game, but like I feel like they are a very, very, very competent developer that is just not the right fit for Metroid. I think Mercury Steam is like a perfect, like if Prime 4 does well and we get more 3D Metroid games in the future, I think, and if Retro Studios proves themselves again, then I would feel really confident with just, Retro does 3D Metroid and Mercury Steam is the 2D Metroid developer. And, I feel really confident I feel really confident in this game's sales.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's not going to blow anybody away, but it's also going to be like, oh, this is enough to warrant continuing the franchise.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, what time we're in. Yeah, we're in a great time right now. We have Metroid coming every couple of years. Like, 2016 was Federation Force, 2017 Samus Returns. 4 years later, we've got Metroid Dread. Prime 4's on the way. Like, we've got a dedicated Metroid 2D team and a 3D team. And just the thought of that couldn't have existed years ago. But yeah, it's great, and they're doing brilliant stuff too. I loved Samus Returns, but I thought the counter could be a bit intrusive at times. Like, sometimes you have to stop and wait for an enemy to just like attack you. But now they've got the dash counter, so you can literally run into an enemy and just whack them. It looks really visceral. I just think they're doing all the right things with this.
Yeah, that was like probably the biggest, I thought it was fine, but that was definitely the biggest problem people had with it. So it's great to see, like, okay, if you're going to do anything for the sequel that fixes it up, you got to address that counter. And they did. Yeah, it's like they're doing everything right and everything is good and the sky is clear and the sun is shining and the birds are singing.
I don't like how they revealed it, though, where they said, like, hey, Metroid Prime 4 is in development, but
it makes it sound lesser.
Here's a Metroid game.
It's like, here's something to have in the meantime, and it's not lesser.
Yeah. Because they were worried that people were going to not be happy. Like, I want Metroid Prime 4. Oh, what is this? This is just a 2D game. I don't think anybody, like, a couple of people would have been like that, but it's just like, who cares? Just do it. Like, people would be, like, it just makes it that much more... if they just cut, I think they were talking about Mario Party beforehand, and it just cut to that shot of Samus just coming down with the new suit on, and that would have been like, whoa. But the problem with that, if they did that, a lot of people would have been like, oh, Metroid Prime 4, and then, like, whatever, but... it's still just seeing Metroid 5 appear was just, whoa, this is so cool. Because I think there was some rumors that a Super Metroid remake was happening, and it's just like, like, there's only so many times.
That would have been so,
Yeah, there's no point.
There's only so many times you can do remakes in a row, like, even though Super Metroid is really good, there is still some things, like if they would remake it in like a Samus Returns Metroid 5 engine, I think it would still do pretty well and it would be a really good game, but like, you know, we want to see the franchise move forward, you know, and I think, you know, this is, I think there's really not much I can really complain about with this. Even the amiibo doesn't lock anything stupid behind it. It's just like, here's some health.
Yeah, it doesn't lock a whole difficulty. Well, that's good. I suppose, and any final thoughts on Metroid before we move on?
I just still can't believe it. It looks so good. I love the cinematics as well, just how it blends into 3D so seamlessly. It looks like it's going to be a great cinematic experience as well as just the traditional 2D Metroid. And like the last one was 19 years ago. That was 2002. That's wild to think about. 19
years. And this is crazy.
There's got to be people out there who are watching this presentation who weren't born 19 years ago and thought, like, instead of giving us Prime 4, they were giving us Prime 5 with Metroid 5. There's got to be someone who thought that.
Yeah, there's some people who are a little confused.
I think it was a fantastic, like, you know, there's already those rumors of 2D Metroid coming, and that was kind of like the last of those like big rumors where they had
Paper that was the last
coming,
one.
And it's going back to its roots, and then there was like 3D Mario. Yeah, they said a new 2D Metroid is coming. And
they were right.
But that also shows, again, how good Mercury's Steam apparently is at development, where like they released Samus Returns when Prime 4 got announced, and Prime 4, we still haven't seen anything of it, and they made a new Metroid game in the time span between that, and I just think that's just like, they get Metroid. I think it's obvious. They understand Metroid, they know what it is, and they know what it should be, and I can't wait to try. I hope that they do something like GBA Online,
yes, please.
Or they do some kind of re-releases, because I don't want to use my Wii U
I don't either.
to play Metroid, Zero Mission, and Fusion again. We got Super, even like, I was going to say Game Boy, but it's just like, I'm not going to play the original version of Metroid.
Everyone's got a 3DS.
I tried that. And it's just, it's not. Even then, I think afterwards, after Dread, there may be a chance that we might get kind of a Miitopia-esque up-res of like Metroid Samus Returns. That would be very nice. I would appreciate that, but yeah, I don't think there's a huge shot of that, but it kind of depends on Dread's success.
We're 4 months away, and they kept iterating that there's no need to play the prior games, and like there isn't much need, but there is an overarching story, and it kind of begins with Metroid 2. That's a pretty key part of the Metroids and the X-Parasites, so yeah. I do wish people could play them on Switch.
Yeah, at the very least, you know, especially with, it's the other one Mercury Steam did, it's good that, most people have got a 3DS, so, like, I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if the sales of Samus Returns were going up right now, too, because people want to go play that. It's hard for me, because I'm like, if you play one game before Dread, make sure it's Super. No, make sure it's Samus Returns. No, Super. No, Samus Returns. I can't decide. They're both like...
Zero Mission's a really good place to start. It's really quick. It's really good.
Yeah, no Zero Mission, because it's the first one.
Yeah, but you get it all right there, and it's just so... it's so good. I love it so much.
It's the best one.
I'm not even that upset that my gameplay file corrupted on that, because then I'm like, okay, well, I can play the first 2 hours all over again. It's really good.
All right, we should move on from Metroid, even though I do not want to at all. But we gotta move this along. Let's talk about other direct highlights. John, let's start with you. Even though you're taking a drink of water, I can see you in the camera now. Now talk, quickly! Other direct highlights.
Mario Party Superstars. I had to look up the name because I just forgot it, but I was pretty excited about that.
They really got these generic names.
Yeah, it is a very generic name. I wasn't sure what they were doing with this series, because Mario Party, or Super Mario Party, got an online update this year, which, like, you'd think if they were updating the prior game with online, that would mean that there isn't a new game coming. But no, there is.
Yeah, at least not like super soon. Maybe like next year or something.
Yeah, but yeah, they're doing one, and it looks really promising. But I'm not sure about you guys. When you first saw this game, did you just think, like, we've done this idea before?
No, I was foaming at the mouth. I was foaming at the mouth. This is...
yeah.
This is...
It's just like the top 100. But,
yeah, but it's better.
I think it's a different selection of mini games. But they actually have boards this time. That's the important thing. They've got 5 boards from across the N64 Mario Party series, and I was doing a comparison of them and revisiting those older ones. And I'm just so happy. Like this is exactly what I wanted Mario Party to be like for such a long time. And they're going back to basics. They're adding online again. It looks beautiful. I think this just looks like it's doing all the right things for Mario Party.
ND Cube. I would not trust them with my lives. They are kind of they do a good job sometimes, but they do not understand Mario Party half the time. Because Super Mario Party was a step in the right direction, but the boards, they were on this grid, they were grid based, and they were so small and simple, and there was only 4 of them, and I thought that was just like, oh, man, because they like to focus on quantity with modes. You can even see that. Like, I love Clubhouse Games, and they develop that, but like they go for quantity over quality, like pretty much with all of their games. Like Amiibo Festival, they developed Amiibo Festival, and that has, you know, the one board game, but then there's like all these random like other modes, and they're not that great, you know. Like there's only like a couple that are like, oh, this is okay. And then like Mario Party 10 was horrible. That is the worst one. It is horrible. I'm sorry to any fans, but it is so bad. And then Mario Party 9 was like, oh, this is a cute idea, like, but it's bad, so don't do it again. And they did it again. But Super Mario Party was a step in the right direction, but it was it had some flaws, and I think the main thing was like I wanted them to add to it with updates and DLC, like add more boards, and they never did.
They just never did.
No, it's really weird, but at least they had it online. I never tried it, but you know, even if it's kind of bad, like it's like, well, you have that option.
To be honest, it's not bad at all. It's surprisingly really good.
Yeah, that's good. Oh. Yeah, I still haven't tried 3D Worlds online. Is that okay too?
No. Terrible.
Never mind.
Not even worth trying.
Okay, well, either way, Mario Party Superstars is like, I mean, like, I think, like, when the Top 100 came out, it was like, oh, this is such an awesome idea, but you ruined it, and you wasted it on, you know, putting it on a handheld, and you only have, they only had one board, and it was a horrible board. It wasn't fun. I played that with my friends recently, and it was just god-awful. I think Superstars looked, I almost hope that they do kind of like a sub-series where this is almost like the Pokemon remakes, where like, oh, you have Super Mario Party, and then you have Super Mario Party 2. You have the new Mario Parties called Super Mario Party, and then you have a Mario Party Superstars series where you have more and more, where it's just compiling, because like you pretty much have an endless amount of mini games and boards you can pull from for this. My main problem is the fact that it's only 5 boards. I feel like that's kind of low. I think maybe if it was like 8, you know, I think that would have been a good amount. And I feel like 5 is really low also because they're remakes, you know, they're not really changing anything about them. They're just making them look pretty. They look gorgeous. They look fantastic. But you know, I just feel like 5 is a bit low, and also only from N64 games. That's a safe bet because those are the fan favorites, but the GameCube Mario Parties are also quite good. I would have loved to see GameCube boards. It's weird because the mini games are taken throughout the entire series. Most of them are from the N64 games, but a good chunk are from GameCube, and then you have some random ones from like the Wii and Wii U games. I
spotted one from 10.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, you know, go for it. Overall, I'm very happy about that. My only problem with it is the lack of boards, but 5 is tolerable. It's just it's weird that they don't have more than that. I feel like this is like, I don't know, like because they're remakes, they could do more.
Sure.
Yeah, they didn't even have to do the design work. You're just taking old ones. You could have given us more. I mean, and it's like you want to say, oh, maybe they'll give us a DLC. They do it for the golf. They do it for the tennis. But they didn't do it for the Super Mario Party. So, like, who even knows what to expect at this point?
Didn't need it. It sold like 40 million copies just on its own.
It did.
It's insane.
And I still don't know
really
why.
Like,
it's one of the best-selling Switch
still
games.
don't know why.
Mario Party is just like, I think it's like the health of the system. Whenever a system really takes off is when then it becomes it's like Mario Kart. You pick up a Switch, oh, what do you get with it? I don't know, the Mario and the Mario Party, and like, you know, so yeah, most of their systems, it'll sell like 1 or 2 million, but then like on the Wii, it sold 1 trillion. On the Switch, it sold 1 trillion.
It's bizarre because the GameCube ones, they didn't sell, like, they sold good enough for them to keep doing them every year, but I think the GameCube ones usually topped out around, like, 1.5 million sales. Yeah. Or something each.
Yeah, very modest.
Yeah, and then, like, I think the Wii era kind of helped with Mario Party 8, but there were only two. That was always weird to me that the Wii only had 2 Mario parties when that was like the system where it's just like this makes the most sense here. Like why aren't you milking Mario Party here?
Yeah.
But
and then 3DS had like 3 of them, right? It
Yeah.
was like Island Tour and Star Rush and then Top 100.
Mario Party on 3DS was basically Nintendo's like scapegoat of just like having like we need something, just put a Mario Party on here. That was pretty much what it always felt like.
And every time they announced one in like a Nintendo Direct, it was always just like, oh, cool.
But this one was good. This one was good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad to see so many people are so excited about it.
Mm-hmm. They're gonna mess it up somehow, but at the moment,
I'm sure.
there's gonna be something about it. But I'm pretty jazzed about it. I'm like, all right, this is good.
Yeah.
They at least understand, even if like. You know, like that just shows it's just like, oh, we can't make a good Mario Party game ourselves. Let's just do the old stuff. But at least that shows they know what people want. So that's good for the future. The same goes for Monkey Ball. At least they know what people want.
Oh man, I'm so happy about Monkey Ball. I think Monkey Ball 1 and 2 are some of the best GameCube games, maybe even the best GameCube games. I still play them today, and the franchise really went off with Banana Blitz and never really came back. It came back a bit with Banana Splits on the Vita, but they didn't include it in their compilation.
They are the worst with names.
reason.
They are the worst with names. They literally
That's terrible.
it's just Banana Blank for 3 games. Like that's all they do.
Now we're on Banana Mania.
Yeah.
But yeah, this looks really good. It's basically a remake of Deluxe, which is 1, 2, and all the other stuff. And it looks like they're doing everything right. They're bringing back the jump, but it's optional. You can turn it off if you want to. But yeah, it just looks like they're bringing back all the great party games like Monkey Target, Monkey Billiards, Monkey Bowling. It could be one of the best Monkey Ball games.
Yeah, it's.
I've never played a Monkey Ball game. I have heard that they are good, though.
fantastic.
This is your time.
This
is your time, Arlo.
They're super good to just pick up and play. They're just simple, just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna... Even Banana Blitz, like, Banana Blitz isn't great, but even when that came out on Switch, it was just like, this just feels nice to have a Monkey Ball thing, you know? It was just like, this feels good, and it's just like, it's... Banana Blitz, just the level designs are just too simplistic and easy, and it had the jump, and it just kind of made it just kind of like, it just kind of felt worthless. It was like, okay, this has a spirit of a Monkey Ball game, but nothing that makes Monkey Ball like actually good. And this is fantastic because like I love the art design of the new series of like as in like the newer stuff with Banana Blitz HD, and this is basically taking that and remaking all of it. It's like 300 stages. It's insane.
Yeah, it's a big effort. Yeah, like Banana Blitz HD it wasn't a simple port. They're remastering it, but they've done everything from the ground up with this one, and I'm really happy. Like I don't really trust them to make a brand new entry again, because like Monkey Ball 3D was awful. Every level had these barriers around it, and it was just not what you want from Monkey Ball. So going back to the original premise is a brilliant idea. And the director, the producer of the first 2 games, is the producer of the Yakuza series. Yeah. So he's gone on to much bigger things now.
I did not know that.
Yeah, like I love looking at pictures of him back at the day. Like when he was developing Monkey Ball, he was this really happy guy, and now he looks like he's part of the Yakuza. But yeah, I'm so happy with this one.
That's great.
It's a good development team. It's a good development team because it's the same development team behind Yakuza. It's just like that's making. They made Banana Blitz HD, and they're also developing this game. So it's just like they're talented developers. It's just, you know, they were working with Banana Blitz HD. It's like there's only so much you could polish that game up. You know, there's only so much you could do to fix that. With this, they're working with like really quality levels and just like Monkey Ball at its best. And I know that they could do a good new game if they had like a good direction and they knew, but that this again, like with Mario Party Superstars, this shows they know what people want, and that's a good sign.
Yeah, even if it's just the old thing, as long as you understand that that's what we want is the old thing.
Yeah. We're okay going back. It's been way too long. Like this must have released around the time of Metroid Fusion, the first 2 games. So we're okay to go back to basics, as long as they can hopefully pick up after this one.
Yeah, you go from there.
Do you guys like, you guys know how like expensive like GameCube stuff is now, right? Just like how like if you want to buy GameCube stuff, it's really expensive. Monkey Ball's always been really cheap, and I don't know why. Because like it's always something
that... It was a launch title, wasn't it? The first one?
Yeah, but they're always around like
there
10,
must be quite a few
$20.
copies out there.
Yeah, I just find it weird because like I feel like that's something that everybody always talks about with GameCube. It's just like, oh yeah, Monkey Ball was great, and like it's always it's still kind of like it's still pretty affordable. It's one of the more affordable GameCube games. It's just kind of weird.
Maybe they just made a lot of copies. I remember when I worked at Game Crazy, and this was 2007, so the game wasn't even that old yet. But I remember Metroid Prime 1 was $5 used. And even then, I just remember being like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Metroid was a cheap one. I remember getting my copy for like $5. Same with like Metroid Prime 2. And now I'm pretty sure they're probably around 20 or 30 or something like that. But those
be by now.
Yeah. There's some weird ones where it's just like, why is Cubivore so expensive? Like who's looking to play Cubivore right now?
Well, now it's niche.
When I was a kid, I went to New York with my family, and I went to a GameStop, and I picked up Metroid Prime and Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door in like a 2 for $20 bundle, I think. And now Thousand Year Door is like what?
$100.
$150 now?
Yeah.
I got mine for like 50 like 3 years ago. And now
I paid a friend. I found a friend who had it, and I gave him $100 because I thought that was fair. Oh, you guys are a riot! But real quick, it's time for a word from our sponsor. Arlocast is brought to you by still no one. We do not have any sponsors, nor does Arlocast have consistent enough numbers to even show a potential sponsor. It's only our second episode, you know? But one, we still like to practice inserting an ad into the middle of the show. 2, the little segment ditty is fun. I like to hear it. And 3, we think this is kind of funny. Is it funny? Or is it just annoying? I don't know, but here we are. I mean, did you hear Ant Dude last week going on about HelloFresh? It was great. We know how to do it around here, and you know what? We love food, is all I'm saying. All right, let's get back to Jon Cartwright and Scoot. It says Scoot the Woz. I wrote Scoot the Woz here. You know what? I'm not changing it. Back to Scoot the Woz. Well, back on topic, I would say the only other thing that really made me, I mean, like, there were a lot of really good little things in the Direct, but the one that kind of made me like, whoa, yeah, is, it's Advance Wars. Like, just the simple fact that they're doing literally anything again with Advance Wars, and it's made by Way Forward, which is really, really cool. I didn't know that until after the fact.
That shocked me afterwards. I was like, whoa, because, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first time Way Forward is, like, making a Nintendo game, right?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, because they've always worked with Nintendo platforms, and they've always worked with like very like prestigious, like, you know, iconic, you know, publishers throughout the, you know, they've done Capcom stuff, Konami stuff, all that. But you know, and I remember back in the day, I just heard so many people say they want Way Forward to do Metroid. Even like whatever last year when they did the Bakugan stream, people were like, oh my god, Way Forward's gonna do Wario Land. So it's just like, it's really cool to just see them work with Nintendo in some capacity. Yeah,
because then like that I mean, like I've been meaning to do a whole video on this, just like Nintendo, like do it more. It works great. Like if you don't have enough studios to handle all these different things that we want, you have like so many IPs. Just get other people who are probably just so eager to do this stuff for you, just to do it for you. You probably don't even have to pay them. Let's just make them for you. No, it's great because this could open the door for them to do other stuff. Yeah, they'd be perfect for Wario Land. That'd be incredible.
This reminds me a lot of Famicom Detective Club. Like just remaking a dormant franchise. Because Advance Wars wasn't coming back. Intelligent Systems they're on a gold mine with Fire Emblem now. They're not going to go back to Advance Wars. So getting another developer to just to remake a series is a great thing. But Sakamoto is also talking about maybe doing a third Famicom Detective Club. So maybe if the remakes did well enough, that could have kickstarted that. And the same could happen with Advance Wars. So Way Forward could very well lead the franchise from here on.
It could. I am hesitant about. I don't know. Are there any official numbers for Famicom Detective Club yet?
Oh, it mustn't have done that great. I mean, they didn't give it the best chance. There were no physical copies.
Yeah, here's the thing is...
the name doesn't really do it any favors here in the West.
No, it doesn't. And also, I mean, come on. It's just like you take a super old game, you remake it, but even the remake... Like, it looks nice, but it's like, it's not a big, giant thing. $60. I don't want to complain too much about the price. That's how, like, Advance Wars, it's going to be cool and everything, but $60 is a lot. If you're trying to revitalize a franchise, you gotta make sacrifices. I know Nintendo likes to make the money.
I think it was like 30 for each or 25 for each. Don't quote me on that.
For Detective
but at least
Club,
if you wanted. Yeah, I think if you wanted the full thing... Oh, were you talking, Arlo, were you talking about Advance Wars or Famicom?
Both.
Detective?
Both are identical.
It's kind of applicable to both, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it is. They both need people to, like, you know, they want to revitalize the franchise or whatever.
Is
like,
Advance Wars 60?
It is $60.
That's ridiculous.
I will say, though,
that is
Advance
ridiculous.
Wars,
I'm sorry, because WarioWare's 50.
Advance Wars does have online play, so that's kind of a nice bonus.
That's good.
If you're
if
a
they
fan.
didn't, I would have been really upset about it. At least, at the very least, online play, as long as it works.
Yeah.
But it's one of those games where, like, at least it's happening. I could have never predicted Advance Wars is coming back.
Whoa. Yeah, I just want to...
Yeah, I think I thought it was eventually going to happen, but I didn't know in what form. And even just a remake, like, yeah, fine, do it. Like, just whatever. I mean, and that's another problem with the prices. You have these indies who are competing, and I know it's different. You can't always, you know, a lot of people are making like, oh, well, Hollow Knight's only $15, so why would I spend $60? It's a totally different thing, but there is an element where you have to look at competition. And when we have so many competitors for the Advance Wars style thing, people who came in and did the same thing, like, you gotta consider that when you're pricing your game. You have to.
Yeah. Wargroove is a very similar Advance Wars style game, and that was that 2019? It wasn't very long ago.
No, there's Wargroove and there's Tiny Metal. Those seem to be like the two most notable ones, and they're probably both $15 or something. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they have more content than Advance Wars 1 and 2. I don't know. I don't want to complain too much about it, but I was bummed out by that price. But it's really cool to bringing it back. Though.
I think the name is.
I played the DS one.
I think the name is gonna be a turnoff for. I don't know. Just saying. I don't like seeing the name 1+2. I don't know why. I do not know why. I just think it looks cheap, tacky. I don't know. It's just something where just call it Reboot Camp. But I think I think it would have been cooler if they would have done a remake of like the original version of Advance Wars. Like they had Famicom Wars, Game Boy Wars, and stuff like that, and those were exclusive to Japan. And it kind of could have been like what they did with Fire Emblem, where you know they remade a couple of games. They remade Shadow Dragon and Shadow Gaiden, and you know they took these Japanese only entries in the franchise and they remade them, modernized it. I think it would have been cool if they incorporated like the Advance Wars, you know, characters and all that, you know, the style that they have, but they maybe took it from like those older Famicom Game Boy games. It would have been like, oh, this is a new experience for us, but you know, it's still a remake. You're still reusing content, so you know, it's a little easier. But either way, I think it's cool. I think this is something that like, no matter what, it's just a comfortable feeling seeing like games like this come back. You know, it's just like, oh, this is nice. You know, because it's nice to see Nintendo do something other than Mario and Zelda and Pokemon and Kirby and all this, you know, where it's just like, oh, this is something that used to be a big part of Nintendo's lineup. Like they did a bunch of them. They did like they did 2 on the Game Boy Advance. They did 2 on the DS. And then it's just like, it's just gone. And they had Battalion Wars on GameCube and Wii, and you know, it was a big part of their lineup. And you know, then it just vanished. And you know, now just seeing it come back, it's just a good feeling that it's a good feeling not only for Advance Wars but for other Nintendo franchises, where it just kind of feels like if they are willing to take a chance on this with a developer like WayForward, that means, you know, what about something like, you know, like an Earthbound Beginnings remake or something, you know, just anything like that, where it's just like, oh, there's a franchise that hasn't been touched in, you know, years. And they're willing to take chances on the Switch with stuff like that. And Famicom.
I think Golden Sun is a pretty good candidate for
Golden Sun. That's my next one. That's the absolutely. That's the next one. And yeah, and I was gonna say like that kind of putting Advance Wars and Metroid in the same thing, it really gives that feeling. And even like WarioWare to an extent of just like, hey, we're bringing back the old stuff, you know, and it's great. They've got so many IPs. And yeah, like you've already done the Smash and the Zelda and the Mario and everything. Like what else do they have other than other stuff? And I'm always going on about how like try to grow your other IPs, even if they were small. Like the Switch grows stuff. When they nail it right, when they do it right, the Switch grows audiences. It's a magical audience growing machine. So it's like, now's the time to do it. Like get new Advance Wars fans.
Yeah, I'm also very happy to see WarioWare come back. For this,
Yes.
I think this concept is really, really cool and clever. I am a little hesitant just because, like, from what I've seen, I'm just worried because WarioWare goes absolutely insane for a lot of games. And this one, what I'm seeing, could potentially be like, you know, like some of the mini games feel, or micro games feel a little like, you know, because you're controlling a little guy. And I think it's awesome incorporating the WarioWare characters because they are such a big part of the series, but you never see them. You know, it's just between like the transitions. I'm a little hesitant because I'm like, this might, you know, kind of limit the creativity of the micro games, but it also might heighten it. So it's just like, I don't know, but I'm still just excited to just see WarioWare back. WarioWare Gold was really good. It was really good. I really liked it. And just seeing them do a new one, you know, this is the first new one officially in like,
since Smooth Moves, I'd say, was the last proper one. Like, DIY had, like, creation aspects. It had a few Intelligent Systems made games. But, yeah, Smooth Moves was the last proper WarioWare game.
WarioWare Snapped. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't forget Snapped. Yeah.
No,
But I'm thrilled with this. I wasn't properly on board until the Treehouse segment.
Oh, I didn't see that yet.
They showed it in, like, some great detail. What I love, too, is every character plays differently. So, I think Cricket, who's, like, the ninja one, he's like a platforming character. He can run and jump, whereas Wario has a jetpack. But every character can do every micro game. So how you approach and find the solutions can be different every time. So you're timesing the value of each micro game by like 12 different characters. So I think and this is like multiplayer too. Yeah. And like prior WarioWare games, you kind of had to take turns with multiplayer. Like in Smooth Moves, one person plays and you watch them play, and then it's your go. Whereas now you play together, so this is going to be like a really big change for multiplayer.
It gave me a lot of vibes of Mega Party games from the GameCube. Just seeing like the characters, just the look of the little mini characters, you know, walking around. Because that reminds me, there was a mode in that game where you know, you'd play the micro games and all the other characters had to walk around your screen and they could block like whatever you were playing to mess around with you. And this feels like it, but this feels like potentially like it's more co-op oriented maybe. Even the title specifically kind of says get it together, so it feels like it's going to be more co-op oriented. But I haven't seen the Treehouse segment though. Like, what did that kind of go into? I saw a Smash Brothers select screen. It looked like a Smash Brothers select screen for the characters.
Yeah, they played through a few different. Well, they played a bit of each of 3 different campaigns. So they showed off Wario's one, and they played through I think 7 micro games in that. They did a bit of Mona, but the big thing they did was they showed a bit of 9 Volt. And for fans of the series, 9 Volt is the Nintendo themed micro games, and they were really cagey. They showed 3 of them, and I think it was like they showed Ice Climber, Luigi's Mansion, and there was something else. But while they're on the screen, they actually revealed a few other micro games. And there was like a 3 Houses one, where there's a micro game around having tea time with Claude. There was a Splatoon one, which is a micro game about guessing who's going to win when they show you the splat screen at the end.
Oh, that's cute.
So it looks like it's going to be really fun. And I can't wait for this.
Yeah, I think a lot of my fears are a little quelled then. Just because I feel a little more confident in this now. I just, like, when it was first shown off, I just felt like, you know, like, it looked a little like, oh, man, you know, like, because
it was different.
Smooth Moves goes, like, all over the place. Like, every single micro game is different, and this one felt a little more like, you know, like each micro game had to follow this specific format. But hearing that makes me a lot more confident in this being, like, a really good, just, like, new, fresh take on the series.
Yeah. What I love, too, is all these games we talked about, most of them are, like, a few months away.
Yeah.
And even then, we have a good idea of, like, 2022 stuff as well. Like, we also know it's just like, oh, Pokemon Legends, and Triangle Strategy, and Splatoon 3, and Breath of the Wild 2, and all this stuff. Like, we still have a good idea of, like, what next year is going to be like, where a lot of Nintendo... the past couple years have been, like, kind of like I don't know what's going on this year, like, kind of thing, you know. And this it is kind of nice knowing that, you know, we know a decent amount of 2022, but we also have a good idea for, like, the rest of this year, and it's all looking really good.
Yeah, it's a lot like 2017, where it was just kind of like every month, even if it was something small, it was something at least, you know, decently notable, something for everyone. Every month there's something lined up. But I do have a question for you. Is it weird that now that, like, this was basically the last opportunity for Nintendo to announce a holiday title. And it's Pokemon. It's Diamond and Pearl. Like, that's the holiday title. I mean, they're not going to announce something else that close to the holiday. Isn't that a little bit weird? I mean, you could say this could easily just be pandemic related. But it was already surprising that last year they didn't really have a big holiday title. There was Age of Calamity, but I don't know, maybe they anticipated that making a bigger splash than it did. So it is weird going into this year and also not having, like, that one thing that's very obviously, because, I mean, you know, Pokemon is a big deal, but it's like, I don't know, it's the remakes. They're going to sell really well, but it's still not like this big, massive, exciting thing. Even Legends Arceus would have possibly done it. Is that weird?
Maybe they're betting on Advance Wars. Like, that's the December title.
What are you talking about? There's no holiday title. It's Advance Wars. It's Mario Party Superstars. Come on.
Mommy, get me the Advance Wars 1 and 2.
I think the thing is, like, we always kind of associate the big holiday title with Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, and Pokemon, you know, they've traditionally kind of done, you know, Pokemon may not be their big holiday title, as in it is their big holiday title, but it supplements another one. You know, they did that, like, Smash Wii U came out, and the exact same day Pokemon Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire came out. You know, like, they try to supplement it, but in recent years, like, Pokemon Sword and Shield, that was the big holiday title. You know, last year...
At least that was mainline.
Yeah.
Like, that made a lot more sense.
Yeah. But I mean, Legends is coming out a month later. I mean, 2 months later, so it's just like, I don't know. I don't know. Nintendo hasn't really seemed as needy of a holiday title as they used to be, because, like, you know, in 2017 we were all certain, like, oh, Mario Odyssey is going to be the week before Black Friday, like, you know, Nintendo usually does with their holiday titles, and it was like right before Halloween. You know, and 2019, you know, yeah, we had Pokemon Sword and Shield, but in terms of, like, a Nintendo game, we had Luigi's Mansion 3 on Halloween. It feels like they've been more willing to experiment, and with Smash Ultimate, that was December. It feels like they've been more willing to experiment with dates and just placing their games, and I think they've seen that it might help, because, you know, everybody used to try to put their stuff in November. Now it feels a little better, and now I feel like people are like, we don't want to put in November because everybody's going to put their stuff in November, let's go for October. And now, like, everybody's going in October, you know, or September or whatever. But yeah. I feel like Nintendo just likes to experiment with dates, but there isn't really, like, a big title, but I feel like that's because we always associate it with Mario and Zelda, and we don't have one.
And that's one of the reasons I thought Mario Kart 9 might come this year, just because it would be something to be like, to slap on the box and be like, here you go, here's the big new thing. Yeah, it could be it's been selling so well that they don't need it. I honestly believe that there was once a time when Breath of the Wild 2 would have been this year's holiday title. I mean, it only makes sense. And, you know, if they have been delayed, which it sounds like they have been, into 2022, I think it would just make all the sense in the world if this year it was supposed to happen, but it didn't. So they go, okay, whatever. And if the Switch Pro does end up getting revealed this year, it will be weird not having, like, the one big new game to kind of package it with.
Yeah, but
I mean, like, new 3DS launched with Majora's Mask 3D. Like, they tend to do this kind of thing. And
yeah.
If it weren't for the pandemic, I'm sure things would be very different right now. I'm sure Breath of the Wild 2 would be much further along. But unfortunately, that did happen. But this would have sounded crazy like 10 years ago, but there's still 6 months left of the year. And Nintendo, they sometimes just announce games and release them immediately. Like, what was 3D All-Stars? Was that, like,
2 weeks?
3 weeks from announcement to release?
It was...
Yeah, it's ridiculous what they can do sometimes.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I guess they're still technically... They could have another September Direct and reveal something for December. I mean, just a big holiday title, though. That is hard. You're right, though. It is technically possible.
Yeah, I feel like we'll get, like, a couple more random things here and there, but I'm pretty content with the rest of the year, personally. But I know what you're saying.
I got Metroid. Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah, I'm pretty...
I don't care about a holiday title at all.
I'm pretty content with what they have, but I understand what you're saying, where it's just like, yeah, there's always that feeling of, like, Nintendo would always do the week before Black Friday, and that would be like their big holiday title, and they haven't done that in a while. You know, they've been sliding Pokemon in there, but that's about it. And I don't know. With like a Switch Pro kind of thing, there's this idea that like, oh, they need to launch something super graphically intensive alongside it. I don't really think Nintendo thinks, because it's just they launched new 3DS with Majora's Mask 3D, but that didn't really need it. You know, like it had enhancements with the new 3DS, but like it was perfectly playable on a regular 3DS. There was Monster Hunter there too, but Xenoblade was like the big new 3DS exclusive game, and that came a couple months later. And with the Switch Lite, that launched with Link's Awakening, and I don't really there wasn't like a ton of correlation with that. It was just kind of like, oh, these are both launching in September, and I felt like Nintendo was like, let's launch them on the same day, so then they can just come on the same truck, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think they like, let's say a Switch Pro comes out in September, October. I bet you Switch Pro would probably launch alongside like WarioWare or like whatever, Metroid or Mario Party, and it wouldn't really make any sense. It would just be kind of like, oh, so then you double dip. So then if you're buying a Switch Pro, I might as well pick up this new game too, and it doesn't really, it's not that graphically impressive, but it gives you something.
That'd be awesome if they did that for Metroid, just to kind of give that feeling of like, I mean, it's a good marketing thing. It doesn't even really make sense, but it's just kind of like, it's this vibe you get. You go to the store, oh man, like even if it's a bundle, especially, oh, the new Switch, and it's extra powerful, and this cool like Metroid game, like that'd be awesome for Metroid.
Well, they had a Samus,
Samus
Returns 3DS XL that launched with it, so there might be.
They did, you're right.
Yeah, that was there for about 4 seconds.
I don't want to look up how expensive that is right now, which I will. I have to. Let me see.
Well, boy, this has been a really nice, meaty discussion. I think fairly briefly, would you guys like to go over some highlights from non-Nintendo E3?
Oh,
starting with John.
All right. So I thought the Xbox event was actually really, really good. I've had my Series X since it launched, and I've looked at it on my shelf, and I thought, what are you? Because I still don't know what it can do. There's no game that really showcases what the Series X is capable of. And I think we saw that finally with Forza Horizon 5. Just realised, it is 5. We're on 5 now. Mexico looks amazing. The detail on the roads, like seeing all the pebbles everywhere and the foliage. I haven't seen a game that looks like this before. And it looks amazing. And I'm also a really big Halo fan. But I haven't really been with the franchise since 343 took over. But Infinite looks like it's doing all the right things. So I'm pretty buzzed about Xbox right now. I think they're doing a lot of great stuff, and the best part of it all is Game Pass. I mean, there's games in that presentation I probably wouldn't check out, but just the fact that I have them essentially right now, I'm just like, oh yeah, sure, I'll check that out. I think it just changes their entire perspective.
Yeah, that lifted up the show dramatically, when it's like everybody watching, basically... gets whatever this is. Like, no, for sure. What about any other non-Microsoft? Anybody else? Any other highlights?
Slim pickings now, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it wasn't really. Microsoft was basically it. It was Nintendo and Microsoft.
As the days went on, Ubisoft's press conference looked better and better. As the days went on, it was. It did. I thought Microsoft's was pretty good. Microsoft's showings rarely ever excite me. They're always good, but I'm never like, oh my god, yes. Like I'm never going to react the same way I did about like half of the Nintendo announcements in the Direct
until Banjo comes along.
That says more about me than Microsoft. But I think they've been doing a good job. I honestly think everything Microsoft has been doing has been far more like it really does kind of draw me towards the Series X more than the PS5. I think the PS5 still has my interest in terms of exclusive games, but in terms of everything else.
But everything else,
the Xbox. It just seems like the much better. Like it's just like everything just seems to be. My problem with Xbox is that they still don't have much to show for most of their games. Like even when they announced new stuff, they had that game by Avalanche Studios, Contraband, and that was it. They were just like, oh, it's a co-op open world shooter, Contraband, and then that's it. And they do that with every game they announce now. Even Redfall, which was the thing that ended the show. that is supposedly coming out next year in July, like, you don't have gameplay to show. And like, I don't know, when it's like, when it's something like Outer Worlds 2, you don't need gameplay for that, because like, one, it was too early, and two, like, you know, it was tongue-in-cheek and it was funny, but you know, like, we know what the Outer Worlds is. We know what the Outer Worlds is, so it's just like, I can already kind of picture what the Outer Worlds 2 is going to be like, with a game like Contraband, Redfall, even Starfield, which I thought was really lame how they just didn't have any gameplay for that. I was like, it was just like, this is literally, I have the exact same opinion of this as I did when you first had the teaser. It's just like, oh, it's made by the Fallout team, pretty much, because like, I don't know, when I saw that sandwich in the Starfield teaser, I was just like, that's a Fallout sandwich. I don't know why. I was just like, that looks like a sandwich from Fallout. Like, that looks like the graphical style of Fallout, but it's basically a Bethesda game in space, and that's still the only impression I have of it. I think they've been pretty bad with stuff like that outside of Halo and Forza, which both look quite good. Like, I think I still thought Halo Infinite looked pretty good during that gameplay reveal when they got a lot of heat. Like, I thought the gameplay itself looked good. Yeah. Like, it was like, this looks like it's going in the right direction for Halo. It just wasn't like, the graphics just weren't like, I didn't think they were bad. It was just like, this doesn't look next gen. It just kind of looks like typical, you know, and whatever.
It was flat, yeah. The art style, though, it was reminiscent of the classic Halo trilogy. They were going the right place. It just looked very muddy. But yeah, I was a bit disappointed that they didn't really show Halo much, though. Like the multiplayer they had a big sort of like development trailer which showed a lot of gameplay. But for the campaign, they had this little overview of just like the area we saw last year. But they didn't show actual campaign gameplay for some reason.
At least we have seen gameplay for it. So if they did if they never showed gameplay and that was still all they showed of Halo Infinite, I would have been fuming because this is what Microsoft. Yeah.
No release date either. It's just holiday. Like
it's very bizarre.
I'm confused about that. Also, Microsoft Flight Simulator looks good too on Xbox.
Oh, I can't wait to try that out when I get like a Series X, because like it looks so cool. It's basically because as a kid I would mess around with Google Earth all the time. I'll be like, oh, where does this look like? What does this look like? And now it's just like, you know, you have that whole thing, but on a plane, and it feels real. It looks awesome, and I don't have a PC to run that on, so just having that on an Xbox. And I heard the file size is humongous. Like it's. Yeah, so
it's massive.
It would probably not be that much smaller on Xbox, but at least like you can save hard drive space on, you know, your work computer.
Did you play Wii Street U when it came out?
Oh, yes. I remember that.
So Microsoft Flight Simulator.
I spent way too much time on Wii Street U.
New.
Wii Street U already did it.
No, it's I thought Xbox had a good show, but that they've consistently had good shows. I just think they just need to stop showing like stuff when they just don't have anything to show, because it's just like, you know, like we had that problem with Crackdown 3 for years. Like they just didn't have anything, and then it came out and it was just like, wow. Like this is rough. I felt like the Bethesda support for just buying Bethesda didn't really have much to show. You know, it was just kind of a, you know, if I thought like
they usually have a whole show.
Yeah, if Xbox didn't buy them, what would the Bethesda press conference be like? And I was like, wow, that would have, oof, boy, that would have been kind of rough.
Yeah, but they have the vampire game by Arcane, and then the Ghostwire Tokyo is weird though, because PlayStation have marketing rights to that still. So maybe they just can't show that game.
They couldn't show like Deathloop or anything too, because that's also PS5.
Right.
Good. I'm tired of seeing Deathloop.
I think it looks okay.
Tired. I'm sure it's great. I just have seen it at every event for the last like 3 years. I'm tired of hearing about it and seeing the little like, and this is how it works, and you're stuck in a loop. I know. I'm tired of it.
To be fair, like it's I don't know, like it's I like the style, but yeah, all the trailers are pretty much the exact same. It's just like, ooh, 70s style movie trailer. It's like House of the Dead Overkill or something, with like how it's like, you know, like that style, but it's the same thing over and over. But I think it looks cool. But Redfall, like that, I felt like that was such a bizarre game to end things on. Like they had things they could have ended on. Like you could have saved Halo for the end.
Forza would have been strong.
Yeah. You could have ended on Forza, Halo, or even Starfield. Even that Starfield teaser, I feel like would have made a better ending stinger kind of thing. But that was weird, because like Redfall looks like it's going to be like Left 4 Dead but with vampires, but they already had like the Left 4 Dead spiritual successor with the Back 4 Blood game a part of the conference, so it was just like this like,
so you have these competing, you have that, and then you also have like, oh, we own Obsidian now, so we're making Elder Scrolls, and we're making Avowed, which is like Elder, so they have all these like competing studios now because they're buying everybody.
And I forgot about Avowed. I forgot about Avowed. That's another game.
Yeah, I feel sorry for them because they're basically making Elder Scrolls, and now it's just defunct. One thing that wound me up a lot was Square. So they had this big announcement about Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And it's coming to PC and Steam. That's the perfect Switch game.
What makes it worse is those platforms already have most of those games. you already have Final Fantasy 1 through 6 on mobile already. You can play them right now. Like, but this is like, and then PC, I think they're just missing 1 and 2.
Yeah, these are remasters. They're pixel remasters, so they're trying to be more loyal to the original source material than the mobile games. But they spent like 40 minutes on Guardians of the Galaxy, which didn't even look that good. And then they spent like 30 seconds on the Final Fantasy remasters. Like, they barely showed them. And then they just got the...
They've always been really weird and inconsistent with their Final Fantasy remasters. Like, I think they're remasters in general.
They're remasters...
Yeah,
like the Chrono Trigger remaster on Steam is just like, I don't know. They use like these, even like the Dragon Quest remasters on Switch. There's just something about them that's just unappealing looking. You know, just like the big chunkier sprites. Like, I would have appreciated like the quality of life improvements that they had with those versions, but using more, you know, like even like I think they remade all those games for like Super Famicom back in the day. So like even just using those sprites or using the old NES sprites or something like that. Like they mess around with their sprites so much, and it's just like I don't know why. Like, it's just like you don't have to do that. But Guardians, I thought Guardians looked okay, but they spent like 20 minutes on it, and I felt like that would have fit perfectly in the Xbox presentation. Just put the trailer in there. That would have been a cool little like, oh, that's kind of cool, 3-minute trailer, and then move on to something else kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, let me throw my thing about the non-Nintendo stuff. For the Microsoft, I did not watch the whole show. I kind of skimmed it. I still kind of want to go in there and see what else is in there, but it sounds like I didn't miss much. From what I did see, my main thing with Microsoft is like, yeah, I like what they're doing in the gaming space right now. I love how they're doing what I want Nintendo to do. Just start buying people up so you can get like 1 billion different exclusive games in development. And all of the games they're developing are just like online multiplayer games, like online like every single one, hero shooters. And so like going into there, it's been this constant thing for the last few years. I'm like, okay, but like you got to compete with Sony. You got to give us at least some like really cool, maybe that's why they bought Bethesda, because they just want to get those like single player experiences. So like skimming the show, 2 major takeaways. Skim to the end, and I'm like, where's the Halo? Like, I'm doing the little slider, and I'm looking at the little preview, and I'm like, where's like the big thing at the end? All I'm seeing here is a cinematic trailer for like a zombie shooter or something. And yeah, that's what everyone was talking. It's just like, really? A cinematic trailer for a multiplayer shooter? Just another multiplayer like, how many do you think you can support? How many do you think you can get people to like buy and actually be engaged in? So that was kind of disappointing. And then Starfield is like, I want, like, a teaser is fine, but that teaser showed literally nothing about what the game and even the world is. It was just a person in a spaceship, and that's it. You have to give us some teeny weeny tiny little thing about like, what is it? Because we still don't know. And before they were saying, it's not just going to be Elder Scrolls in space. But then he said, it is just, that's what I want. I just want it to be Elder Scrolls in space. We had post-apocalypse Elder Scrolls, and now I want one in space. So it's weird that they still couldn't show us even just anything, literally anything. And the only other one for me is we didn't get to see Playdead's new game. They did Inside and Limbo, and I've really been looking forward to that. But the co-founder of the company split off and started his own company, and so their game, Somerville, has also been coming for a while, and we did get a trailer for that, so that was kind of cool. I don't know if you guys are fans of those games, but I'm very, very big fan of them.
Sure.
Yeah, well, you guys, we've been having too much fun. There is too much to talk about, and with any given thing, we probably could have just kept going forever, but we are running rapidly out of time, so these last few segments, we'll have to kind of move it right along. Right now, it is time for listener questions. This week, we actually have listeners. We didn't have any last week, so we had to make up our own questions. This time we have real ones, so we're going to kind of rapid fire these. We're going to go around. All three of us will answer. The first question comes from Pakak. The question is, what game did you love as a kid that no one seems to have ever heard of as an adult? Scott, go first.
There was a Frogger game on the Game Boy Advance called like Frogger's Adventure or something. I only got like, I don't even know. Nitro made a video about it. So,
He did. It's a very good video. That's the only reason I know about it.
Yeah, it's the first Frogger GBA game, and I could only play the first level, and I did multiple times. I couldn't beat it. I couldn't beat that first level, and I played through that thing so many times. There was a PC game called Speedy Egbert, which I played at daycare, which was pretty cool. You can make your own levels in that game. It's like an old 90s PC game where it's like really bad 3D models, but it was pretty fun. I think that does it. Those are my two. Frogger's Adventure, Temple of the Frog, that's it. And Speedy Egbert.
Good answer. John, what about you?
My first home console was a Dreamcast, and I got it with Sonic Adventure, which is a pretty popular game. But my other game was Super Magnetic Neo, which is a game where you play as a baby robot with magnetic powers. And it's a platformer like Crash Bandicoot, apart from there are these positive and negative forces around you, and you use like the left and right triggers to either propel yourself or attach them onto things. It's pretty cool. My other one was Pen Triathlon, which is a on-foot racing game where you play as a bunch of weird animals. And it's like Diddy Kong Racing, but not as fun. but yeah, those are probably my stranger two.
Good. Mine, I think the most notable one that the least number of people will have known about was The Neverhood on PC. It was like a point-and-click adventure game made entirely out of clay. And at the time, I was entirely obsessed with it. They made a sequel called Skull Monkeys on the PlayStation 1. And yeah, that's it. Like, just for how much of my life it took up and how much I loved it and how, like, almost nobody has... Some people have. You get the people out there. But no, that was it for me. Next question. Kaizoku Shoujo asks, what's your favorite Link design? Like Zelda, you know, like who's your favorite Link?
Sure.
Design. So I assume the way that he looks. I will start. Mine, it's the Ocarina of Time, just because that was like, it was the first 3D one. I was super duper into it. Just a good solid design. Each one since then has just felt kind of like a slightly weird, slightly cartoonier version to me. They've never quite landed. Breath of the Wild is probably number 2. Ocarina of Time for me.
This is a tricky one.
It is hard.
I've never personally thought. I'm a little smitten with Toon Link. I do like that design.
He's great.
Played a good chunk of Wind Waker in January, and I was just like, oh, that's a good design. That's a good design, and it's one of the most consistent ones. It's pretty much, I think it's the most consistent one. Like, it's been used across the most games.
Yeah.
The Link's Awakening one, I like. I think it's really cute. I don't think it's my favorite though, because it doesn't really have a lot of its own personality. It's just kind of like, as in like the remake, not Skyward Sword. Skyward Sword Link looks a little gross sometimes.
His eyebrows.
Yeah.
It's weird.
He looks kind of gross.
Something's weird about him. I don't know.
Man. I'd say Toon Link.
I'd
say Toon Link.
It's a good answer.
Yeah,
Toon Link?
I'd say Toon Link.
That's a good answer. Yeah.
I like Toon Link as well, but
about you,
I'll be a bit different and say I think Breath of the Wild is a very flexible design. Like, few Links you can put in other outfits and they'll look right, whereas this one you can dress them up in anything and somehow it looks like that should be his default design. So I think it's just a brilliant design.
What do you think of...
yeah, it's a solid design.
What do you think of pink-haired Link from Link to the Past?
Oh, man. I've always found the Link to the Past sprites a bit weird. Like, all of them, I find a bit weird.
Oh, man. Zelda 2 Link, there was something about him that I would... Like, it's... You ever see something with a sprite and you're just like, oh, that's something else. And then you're like, I thought his shield was a sword for the longest time. Like, I just thought, because, like, the way it's just held up, like, it looks like he's just, like, holding it up like that, like, all the time. Like, it almost looks like he's holding, like, a torch.
All right, final question, and I'll try. This is going to be hard for me to not spend too much time on it. Favorite sandwich?
Ooh.
This is asked by CG10 Games. What's your favorite sandwich and why? John, let's go with you.
I feel like I'm going to let you guys down. I'm not the most adventurous sandwich guy in the world, so it's probably best we're starting with me so you guys can end on a high note. But I quite... Oh, man. Okay, all right. So I'm pretty boring when it comes to sandwiches. I do like chicken tikka sandwiches, though. I think they can be really good, especially when you put like, lots of little nice bonuses on there. But I know you guys are going to have better answers than that, so please deliver.
Go for it, Scott.
Well, I mean, usually because living on my own and having being a 24-year-old boy, I'm not the greatest at cooking, so and I'm a little too lazy to go out most of the time to get stuff, so I usually inhale like some standard peanut butter sandwiches if I have nothing else to eat. Like I'm literally like I need something in my system, and it's pretty good. That works pretty well. It's not my favorite though. I'd say well the sandwich me and Arlo got, as in I got it alongside him. I don't think you got the same one, but I got a chicken parm thing. It's like a chicken parm sandwich, which kills you. I'm pretty sure that could kill a man, but it's pretty good. It's not bad.
Yeah, no food judgment here. For me, my sandwich: Dutch crunch bread, mustard, deli mustard, mayo, roast beef, provolone, avocado, sprouts, and pepperoncinis.
Ooh. Yeah.
That's my sandwich.
Now you said mustard and then deli mustard. Were you correcting yourself, or do you do mustard
I was
and
correcting
deli
myself,
mustard? Yeah.
No, I'll just go straight for the deli, straight for the fancy
specific,
stuff.
Very specific with the mustard.
Yes.
No, it sounds like a pretty solid one.
It's got to be put on in the right order. All right, we've only got a few segments left. The next one is What You Been Playing. Just kind of like what you've been enjoying recently. Start with just like on your own time, you know. What you playing, John?
I have just started playing through the Metroid series again. So
That's a weird coincidence.
I know. Oh, have you been doing the same?
I want to. That's what my answer was going to be. I want to do that. That's going to be my next thing. Recently, I played a short hike a couple days ago just because it's fun and I needed to relax, and short hike is awesome. But yeah, my next plan is playing through the Metroids for sure.
Nice. Yes, I'm starting playing through Zero Mission again. But we talked about that game earlier. Before that, though, I played through Captain Rainbow, which is a Japan-exclusive game made by the Chibi Robo developers. And there's a fan translation out there. And I've been so curious about this game like my entire life. And it's weird. It's understandable why it wasn't localized, because there's iffy stuff in there. But it can be really fun, though. And if anything, I think I might actually like this game more than Chibi Robo.
Yeah, it did look weird. Very, very weird. What about you, Scott?
I tried to play Chibi Robo in Japan only, though, and I got very stuck. I couldn't proceed. Like, it was, it's a very text-heavy game. It's very much like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I at least played 30 minutes of it. Didn't know what was happening, though, so. No, it's been a pretty eventful week for me in terms of cutting some stuff off the backlog. Then I've started Metroid Zero Mission, and I love it. It's fantastic. It's a wonderful game. Like I said, I've dabbled in all the Metroid games, but I've never actually gone through and beat them because I am horrible at actually following through and playing more than 3 hours of a game. But this one, I think I'm gonna finally just finish that off, and it's been it's one of my favorite games of all time. I can already tell. And I've only played a little bit of it. Other than that,
that's always a good feeling.
Other than that, I beat Sonic and Knuckles for the first time.
First time,
nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I never beat Sonic and Knuckles before, so I actually got around to that. I never get the Chaos Emeralds with Sonic games, so I put in the whatever stage select code just to see what the final boss would be with all the the Doomsday Zone pretty much. But yeah, it's a good game. It's really annoying that like a lot of Sonic collections, or as in like the one I played it on like the 360 one, the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection. You're not able to lock them on. You can't lock them together. You can't lock Sonic 3 and Knuckles together. So that's a bit unfortunate.
That's weird.
Yeah, you can only play them separately.
I like Sonic Jam on Saturn.
Yeah, that's a
they're
good
not
one.
emulated for one, but you can also snap everything on. But we got the is it the Sonic Origins collection coming next year?
Yeah.
And they showed 4x3 gameplay for Sonic 3 on Twitter. They confirmed it's going to be in widescreen, which is pretty massive.
That's really cool. I hope that collection has more than just those games. I hope, because like the Mega Collection on GameCube and Gems Collection, they have all these like random extra little games, and I miss that. Like I hope they have like all the garbage Game Gear games and all that stuff, and maybe like some of the weird arcade stuff. Because we've gotten re-releases of a good chunk of those games so many times, because like that Sonic Origins collection, they're doing Sonic 1 and 2 again, and hopefully they're going to be, they're going to be in widescreen. I think they confirmed it's all going to be in widescreen, which is nice. But that will be the third time Sonic 2 has been released on Switch. So it's just like, it's like, Sonic and Knuckles was good. I think Sonic 2 is still my favorite. Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles by themselves, like they're still really good, but I think they're just like evenly good. I think Sonic 2 reaches a lot of heights. It has lower lows than Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, but I think it has bigger heights. But that was a good one. Now I'm off to do Sonic 3D Blast, so we'll see how that turns out. Yeah.
All right, we come to the final segment of the show, and this one we're gonna back on the food topic. This is what you been eating. Just like, what kind of food you been eating recently? What you been enjoying? We'll run through it real quick. We'll start with you, Scott.
Okay, so
what you been enjoying?
I have been going a little wild on DoorDash recently.
Oh yeah.
For somebody that just makes nothing but peanut butter sandwiches, I sometimes have to get actual food. Sometimes, Applebee's is one of the best DoorDash options available. They have everything you could possibly want. I ordered them for lunch today. I got French onion soup, and there was like some kind of pasta thing.
I'm not an Applebee's fan.
I mean, they aren't great, but for DoorDash, for just getting stuff,
just because they have everything.
They have everything. You can just order them on your phone, and boom, you're done. Boom. There's a place that I've been getting this Thai chicken wrap kind of thing. That's pretty good.
Good answer. Yeah, I'm not a big Applebee's. I've never had a good experience at Applebee's. I don't know what it is.
Oh, I'm not offended at all. I'm not trying to.
Oh, yeah.
They're not.
Like, I know what Applebee's is. All right, what about you, John?
You're the brand ambassador.
What you been eating, John?
Well, I come from a foreign land, so when you say things like Applebee's, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what kind of place is
just
Applebee's?
A whatever.
No, you
family
can't say
diner,
that. You
American
don't like
food.
it. It's bias. I have to. It's just like a typical, like, if you're literally like, I don't know where to go, let's go to Applebee's. It's like a sit down.
Yeah, really.
Kind of like, they have pretty much everything there. It's a pretty widespread chain across America. It's kind of like
burgers, fries, salads, ribs, just like whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I can say anything and you can't disagree with me because you probably won't know these restaurants. But earlier I went to Pizza Express. Is that a place in America?
I wouldn't be surprised if there were about 1,000 places that were just called that, but probably not a part of the chain.
All right. Well, it sounds like fast food, but it's more of like it's a bit more posh, I guess. But they do some good stuff in there. It's like not greasy stuff, just like proper pizzas, and yeah, I enjoyed that. I feel like I can't have the same restaurant discussion that you guys have, though.
What's any food? Any food you've been enjoying? You making it yourself? Anything?
Yeah. It's been a while since I had my dinner, because time zones are weird, so I can barely remember what I had. But yeah,
it's late at night, isn't it?
I'm not the most adventurous food guy in the world. So I'm actually quite eager to hear what you've had, Arlo, because I know that you're a bit more out there than I am.
I am, and I don't have a good answer. Like, I mean, every week it'll probably be something different, but it's been E3 week, and so I've not had a lot of time to cook. And the one notable thing is at Costco, and Costco is a chain here, they have big things. It's just like their thing. You buy a ton of something. And they had this big, just the most giant bag of kettle corn. and I was weak. And I was like, okay, I'll buy that. And I did. And then I didn't even realize it was buy one, get one. So I ended up getting 2. It's like 3 pounds of kettle corn. And that's been sitting next to my computer desk. And it's not been a good health week. It's between E3 and a giant bag of kettle corn. The results have not been pretty. So that's all I have for this week. And I don't feel good. Well, you guys, this has been an incredibly fun episode. I hope that you have both enjoyed yourself.
Well, thank you for having us, Arlo.
Yeah, it was an honor and a pleasure. It was everything. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, it was also an honor and a pleasure and all of those things to have you guys on too. Especially you, John. Like, it's still like fallout from E3 is just like there's still so much work to be done. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, there's still so much to do.
Yeah, I'm lucky. My 2 editors, they pumped it out pretty quick. So I did almost everything I needed to do, like, on the day. But now there's just things going back to normal. And it's also just kind of always busy. So whatever. Well, thank you, guys. Now is where you pretend like you're waving and there's a camera and it's panning out and it's like going high and you go, bye. And you say, like, bye, everybody. And we all say it at the same time. No, just go for it. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
And that, my friends, is the end of another episode of Arlocast. Number 2 in the bag, and it was hopefully great. It was great on my end. One final thanks to our guests, Jon Cartwright and Scott the Woz. Be sure to follow at Arlocast on Twitter for updates and to submit questions, and also just to leave us nice replies and stuff, because all that makes us feel super good. This episode was edited and produced by Chris Jones. All the music you have been enjoying was created by Northnin. The Arlocast logo was created by Mario Castañeda. Links to all socials, channels, etc. for all guests and artists, along with an address for business inquiries, can be found in the show notes. As with all things I do, I am supported in part by my Patreon patrons, so an extra special thank you to them. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Arlocast.
Goodbye.